Welcome to Mindset, Motivation, and Mastery. It ended sooner than I thought, and I spilled stuff all over myself right as we started. So that's a great way to start this interview. All right, welcome to Mindset, Motivation, and Mastery. I'm excited to have Mr. Dave Thompson on with us. I've been lucky enough that over the last few years, I've known Dave, and we've kind of masterminded and talked a little bit about his journey as he's gone through some stuff. So listen, Dave, I'm excited for you to share with me about your growth. You had some tremendous growth over the last, I'm going to say the last 2 or 3 years, but you're like I feel like you're a little bit of a mirror image of myself as well. Like, we all have these great big ideas, and you're such an amazing idea guy, and you're such, hey, I'm going to go do this, and you put all the action behind it to go do stuff. And some really work out really well, and then sometimes we learn some lessons, right? So you've got through the whole kind of path like I have, So before I jump into, how you are killing it in recruiting, to your top team, I want to talk about one thing, because so many team leaders kind of go through this mindset of, I have a team, I want to own a brokerage, and you and I have spoken about that, and you kind of go, oh, so I'm going to go invest in a brokerage, and then over the last couple of years you invested in a brokerage and went, wait a minute, this brokerage has taken so much of my time, effort, and energy, and I want to go back and focus on my team, and my team suffered because of that. And I don't mean you know what I'm talking about, suffered because of that. And then now you kind of went, okay, I'm out of the brokerage, I'm going to go back to doing what I'm really good at, and and that's with the real estate team. Talk to me a little bit about that and kind of the lessons you've learned over that, because I've seen you go through that. I went through the same thing. So, tell me about that.
I'm just smiling. Fun year and a half. So we had the team in Michigan doing quite well in Michigan, and expanding well. Had a recruiting down. Everything was put in place, and then we decided to buy a national franchise that was offered to me down in Florida. Hence the reason why I opened up 2 teams. My cat's going to come into the picture here in a second, so I'm pushing her off. She's my mascot. So we came down here and started that, and the intentions was to start building a Florida team. Well, the franchise took up all the time, wasn't a moneymaker, actually ended up being exhausted my time and actually a lot of financial resources that would have been put to the team. We sold that successfully after about 18 months. And in the last 3 months, we've doubled the size of the team and went right back to the pace we used to be 18 months ago. So if any advice I could give from my experience is keep your lane. Figure out what your lanes are, stay in your lane. You might add a lane, but it.
Well, and so one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you today is, again, I've kind of been with you through that whole transition, and and we've talked a lot about stuff when it comes to that. And, what I honor about you and what I say, man, you killed it on, is when you got back into your lane and you started with this real estate team, you just didn't go, I'm going to bring on a couple of agents and I'm going to do it. Like that might've been our plan on day one, but you took this and went, okay, listen, I'm going to drill this down into math. I'm going to look at this from a math perspective. I want to make sure that I'm, servicing my agents, servicing my team and all of that. But then you went straight into, I need to grow this. And you have done an amazing job, really. I'm going to say in the last year and a half, 2 years, again, give or take, just because I know that you were, your focus was kind of in the middle of this whole franchise thing. But right now you have a total of 15, 14 agents on the team, 4 in Michigan, 11 in Florida. You guys are on pace to do 330, 340 transactions this year. And really, jumping back into this, well, you've got a lot of experience in it. You've only been really doing it for 2 years, really focused on this team, if that. Sure. And that's amazing. So talk to me a little bit about what was your mindset getting back into it, and how have you grown so quickly?
So the 340 transaction, give or take a few, that we're on pace for right now is off of 7 agents. Everything else has been newer agent that we've been adding to it. So we're adding right now between 3 to 4 agents per month. We should be sitting around about 15 agents in Florida by the end of probably in the next 2 weeks with our recruiting appointments. Intend to have Florida at between 20 to 25 agents by the end of the year, and then we're going to add on another 20 agents next year. So we're able right now to set appointments at will Basically, Elizabeth is my full-time recruiter. And when I say, we have our goal of 3 agents this month, 3 to 4 agents. We basically set the appointments, and we're closing on 25% of the appointments that we have right now. So we can be very selective on who we hire. And if it fits our model and it works out well, our first appointment basically for how we do that is we have our value propositions. Obviously, we have our scripts. We use a program called Seize the Market, just like Boomtown or anything else. It's just a program that keeps track of your follow-ups, you're sending your texts, your emails. We have drip campaigns, but mainly from getting on the phone, making phone calls. She sets appointments. My first appointment, like I have 2 of them today, my first appointment is actually, we do them by Zoom. So it's about a 20-minute appointment, get to know each other, tell them a little bit about the team, talk to them a little bit, find out if they have an interest, find out a little bit about themselves, let them ask some questions. And if we both feel that it's right, something we want, then we follow up with an actual appointment and we get together with them. And like I said, we've been able to set so far 25% of everybody we set the initial appointment with, we're putting to the team. So she literally spends not a lot of hours every week in recruiting. We could recruit at a bigger pace if we wanted to, but we want sustained growth because you never want to have too much growth, because if you have too much growth, it's kind of like, they build a business like this, right? It falls over. Build a business like this. We have to have all our systems in place. When you add on 4 or 5 more people, another 5 people, you got to add on your closing coordinators, your staff. You can increase advertising, marketing, and et cetera. So it's a nice steady growth.
Awesome. So I coach a lot of team leaders with teams all across North America. One of their biggest struggles is recruiting. That's not your struggle. Like at the end of the day, like you're really good at that. So what do you think you do differently than the team leaders that struggle with it, that kind of go, man, we can't find anybody. What do you think you do differently that when I talk to you about recruiting, you just kind of go, oh, that's easy. How many do we need? What do we need to do? Okay, great. I'm going to get that rolling. You have a whole system in place, like you said, with Elizabeth. But what do you do different? Like, why is your mindset so different from the perspective of just recruiting agents?
Our team is different from the average team. Okay. So the average team, and I'm just going to speak generally speaking, the average team, you find newer people joining the team. Our person on our team has an average of 7 years in the business. You find with most teams that the person on the team is, younger. Our average age is in the 40s on our team. Okay. That's our target, is to go after that. I, as the team lead, and I think this is really important, and I learned this, take your ego out of it. You do not see my name anywhere. It is not Dave Thompson's team. It's not Dave Thompson, Suzanne Scott, which is my wife. She runs the Michigan team. It's the Every Corner team. If you go to Zillow, it's the Every Corner team. And we like that for a couple of reasons. One, if I ever wanted to sell the company, sell the team, it's easier to sell something that's not branded into my name. But the second thing is we find that most people that want to work for a team, one of their hesitations is they don't want to become somebody's assistant. They want to be able to empower their own business inside of the business. So, we have Jaguars here. I'm a Jaguar fan, of course. So, coach a Jaguar, coach of any team, they don't have to be the star player. They could be the most knowledgeable, provide the best systems, provide the best skills, keep people disciplined, keep them to their schedules, etc. But they don't have to be the one that everybody sees. So we put a lot of effort into culture. Our culture in our team is very much a family-oriented culture. We put a lot of effort into our team in education. We put a lot of role-playing, scripting, dialogue, which I have a whole schedule. I can go over what we do every week with that. We put a lot of effort into everybody supporting each other in the team. And it's when I have a recruiting program, often I introduce them to other people on the team and they're like, yeah, come on board. It's a group effort. It's not my effort.
Okay, cool. So that's awesome. So then talk to me a little bit about this value proposition. Like, I mean, when you sit down with people, like you said, you had a schedule there. When you sit down with people and you're saying, hey, come join our team. I love the fact that it's not in your name. So again, they can get somewhat of their own brand. I also love the fact that, when they come in, it's one of those things that you have this, I want to call it an inclusive culture, right? So, but at the end of the day, we still have that whole struggle of, hey, I'm going to join the team. What is the value of the team? So if you were to explain to somebody who's kind of struggling with that, or even trying to find their value on their team, because this is the other side of it is I experienced this is team leaders don't even know the value of their team. It's there, like they have this amazing value, but they don't know how to get it out and share it. So like, tell me a little bit about that for you guys, from your perspective.
Well, create a system that you'd work for yourself. I mean, you think about it, one of the biggest costs in any business is turnover of employees. Now, we're going to have people that will eventually leave, and it's a big hug. I mean, hug, high fives, good luck to you type of thing. But you want to create a system that you yourself would want to work to. So I just pulled this up. This is kind of my initial call when I'm sharing. So we do spend a lot of money on advertising, but we get a very good return on that. Every dollar is tracked, but it costs us about $20,000 per agent per year in advertising and marketing. Now I'm making a profit beyond that, and it's predictable, okay? So I'm not just advertising and not getting a result. Everything is tracked. So an average agent, can they spend $20,000 a year on their own advertising and marketing? And that's per each person. And as we grow as a team with that advertising and marketing, you actually reach a place of critical mass. You reach a place where people start to recognize your name. They start to call in, and quite frankly, cost of advertising gets less. So as we've been increasing the size of the team, which is the importance of recruiting, is the bigger the team, the bigger critical mass you have, the bigger amount of calls you'll actually receive, and the lower cost per lead. But to the agent that we're speaking to, look, I'm going to turn on all this advertising and marketing. You know, most people, they always say, I want to go get a real job. I can't enter real estate because I need a real job. Our lead system is their real job. That's what we provide them. They never have to worry about where the next deal is coming from. Now, we help them with their self-generated business, and we're hoping that they do 40% or more in self-generated, but they don't have to. They always know a check's coming through. So that's number one thing that grabs their attention is like, wow, we're going to actually get that kind of leads. We don't have our team calling through Boomtown. We changed that, Jared. I don't know if you know that or not.
Yeah.
They don't do the lead follow. We moved all the watches away. So we only have everybody hot and nurtures, and they have a maximum of 50 leads at any given time, even though we have over 10,000 leads that we've dealt over the last 2 years in our database here in just Florida.
Okay, who does your watches then?
What's that?
Who does your watches? Who's
So Elizabeth has three jobs.
Right.
She does part-time marketing, and she does part-time work in that database. But we turn over deals we do preset appointments. Of course, Zillow is transferred. So I want the agent doing what they should do. We all wear different hats, right? Real estate full of hats. Salesperson should wear one hat. So the next thing that we do is that just like Jared, you coach me, I coach my agents. So I spend a half hour each and every week working on each agent's individual business. And just like coaching, I have found out that it's really about them. There's something it's always, when you start coaching somebody, there's that magic moment. It's different for everybody, right? But it's really about honing in. You see somebody slipping and their conversions drop. Why are your conversions dropping? So it's very specific about that person. We do, this is something else that people appreciate.
Well, and like with the coaching, like the key to success in coaching is like Tom Ferry, always says the key to coaching is the consistency, right? It's not necessarily that they're going to have one meeting with you and they're going to come back and go, oh my gosh, my world has changed. It's you're meeting with them consistently, and you're able to watch them when they're slipping or watch when they're doing it, and you change it, right? You twist it and change it. And that's why coaching consistently is so important, right? And so I love that.
Without a question. And it's a real value to them. Actually, it becomes more of a value once they join the team. It's probably better for retention than it actually for recruiting, because once they get used to having that person sitting down with them every week, it's something we all look forward to. We do a lot of training, and if you would like me to kind of go through the schedule,
Let's do it. I think there are a lot of people that would love to hear it. So yeah, absolutely.
So it's structured. I mean, everything is structured. It's a Monday. I spend the entire day on Monday and any new team member that's joining the team. We try to do 2 people at once when we can, but we go through it. It's a very much, I talk about personality types. I talk about scripting. We go into, it's basically a sales edge, if you would, is okay. What we're on Monday. Okay. And we go into how we'd handle online leads and et cetera, but it's an entire day that I spend with the person. On Tuesday, we have our boost training. Boost training is only for brand new agents, new with licenses, or somebody that has not sold, an X amount of transactions. We do that for 1 hour. Then we go to team training, which is 10:30 to 12 o'clock. And our team meeting every week, like this week, we're actually going to do 30 listing ideas. And we're also going to work on business plans we're already putting in place for next year. So it always has an agenda, and it's always value. On Wednesday morning, anybody that does not have a closing rate, conversion rate of at least 8%, or anyone that is newer to the team, we have a meeting that gets back together. We're going through the basics, how to run Boomtown, how to do this. And we actually listen to every Zillow call in there. So we're critiquing the actual Zillow calls, listening and say, you could have done this, could have done that, et cetera. And then Wednesday afternoon is individual coaching. And on Thursday we do 2 hours of role-playing, objection handling, scripting, dialogues, that kind of stuff. And it's structured that way every single week. So that's a value. We do give some decent commission splits on self-generated transactions, because it's really easy. If I offer 70% commission and this other company's offer 70% commission, they don't have to move. Obviously, our commission structure on our team leads is much different. We have probably the best staff, in my opinion.
Hey, my opinion too. I know them, so they're pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So
Our closing coordinators, listing coordinators, and stuff are just top of it. I mean, Jared, if you're on our team and you're selling real estate, I want you to sell real estate. I want you in front of people. I don't want you doing anything else. And they keep you involved. So it's still your transaction, but they take the workload away from you. And they're always watching behind to make sure dates are matched and all that kind of stuff. So it just frees you up both physically and mentally, if you would.
Yeah.
So you can concentrate on your business. The interesting thing out of that department, as we got better and better, we actually get referrals out of that department. So that's become a lead generation system because people are happy and they're giving us referrals. So really cool. Tom Ferry coaching, sales events, like we went down to Miami to the sales event type thing. We do stuff like that. One of the things that they really like is that I know this is different from a lot of teams, but I don't promote my name at all. I promote their name. So I let them actually market their name underneath the umbrella of our company. So they're not giving up their business, but I don't want them ever to leave. I want them to stay. So we created a system where they can be happy and actually market their name inside. And I spend a lot of time helping them market it.
I support some of that, like from a perspective of branding, right? Like if we want to help them get self-generated business, then we want to make sure that they're promoted and they do it under the umbrella. And we in this business, like it or not, it is somewhat of an ego-driven business. So even those agents that are coming on board, they want their name up in front and they want to promote themselves. And I love the fact that you give them the opportunity to kind of stand up in front of and go, hey, this is us under this umbrella. And you do a really good job in mixing those two, where this is the umbrella, like this is who we are as a team, but yet you can go out and be who you are as an agent. I love that. So
yeah, I think one of the limitations that we as team leaders, and I've learned this, is the limitations that we restrict what our agents can do and what they can learn because we're scared that they'll leave.
Yeah.
So if we actually provide such a system that is such a value, they won't want to leave, then we don't have to restrict them, and therefore more business comes in, and everybody's more happy.
100%.
So, we belong to a national franchise, belong to RE/MAX. RE/MAX is not cheap. It does cost me money, but we find a value in that. So that's something that we offer to the agents. And there's a couple other things, sir, but then the last thing I talk about is just the culture. So if you could make the same thing as you're making there, but yet come over here and make all this and have all this, would that be worth at least a 20-minute conversation? It's a pretty easy phone call to make.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that mindset. Now, so let's go back to Elizabeth just a little bit, because Elizabeth is a rock star on your team. Like you said, she's amazing. She wears 3 different hats, and I know she's crazy busy, but if I were to give her just an all-out title of what she's a master at, is we know them in our industry as ISA. She's an ISA, an OSA, whatever. She's good on the phone. She's friendly and she closes, and she's amazing. So she obviously does some of the nurturing of the leads, which is really important. And it's one of the weak areas of a lot of team agents, is nurturing those leads to the point of where they're ready to close. So I love that. she also then also focuses on so many hours a day on recruiting, which is helping you set appointments so that all your job is appointments, right?
Yeah, and then she does some of our social media and et cetera. Her job, Jared, will actually divide into three eventually. Those are three distinct jobs. She just happens to be good at them. But I mean, like everything, and she would tell you, Jared, you've spent a lot of time coaching Elizabeth. I mean, she's a rock star. She's a rock star up here, right? So we hired the right person, and then she's learned how to become a rock star because we've spent time with her and handle objections and talk to her every day. And now she's very, very efficient, she's very good at what she does. Yeah.
She is. Now, so talk to me a little bit about, you mentioned hiring the right person for that role in staff, which is super important. How important is hiring the right person? You touched on it earlier as an agent on the team, that now you kind of get to go out and find the right person. And she's like, what makes a right person for you? Or like, how important is that? Or should be like, oh, you've got years of experience, you can file your mayor, come join the team and see how it works out. Like, what is your level of, hey, this person works, this person doesn't work?
It's a gut feeling. And it comes a lot from listening, asking questions like we do. That's what we do, is we ask questions, right? Listening for the right answers, actually looking for the wrong answers. But it's got to be somebody that has got a big smile on their face, that's excited, but they have to have grit. I'll take grit over skill any day, because I can teach skill, but I can't teach grit. So I'm looking for somebody that's going to do it, right? And it's, do we get it right every time? No, but in our business plan, and this is something I've learned lately with you, in our business plan, we actually have a number that's in there. It's attrition. And so if I don't get it right, either I let them go or they move, and that's okay. Yep. Just as long as we're prospecting all the time, we build a team. We don't want to let it turn over, but sometimes that'll happen. So sometimes you pick the wrong person, but generally speaking, if it's this, if you go on X amount of listing appointments every single month, and you keep on going listing appointments, you're going to get pretty darn good at listing appointments. If you're only going on a couple every month, you're never going to be quite to speed. So if you do enough appointments, you start to pick up on things. And that's the key of prospecting and appointments.
Yeah. So, and again, I agree 100%. Like I always say, like, instead, go out and we meet one agent for recruiting, and that's our pool, then there's a good chance we're going to hire the wrong person, or we're going to hire someone who needs it more than wants it. And like, if that's all, but you're really good at saying, like, what's your goal? How many listing appointments should you be going on a week?
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, and so, because if you're not going on enough, then guess what? You're not going to have enough of a pool to choose from, right? Like, let's be real for you. If you go on 5 recruiting appointments, how many of those recruits are probably a fit for your team out of the 5 that you go on? Now, Elizabeth is really good up front in setting those appointments, but like, let's say she sets 5 appointments. How many of them are fit on your team?
Yeah, we're from the time she sets an appointment, we're at 25% that actually join it. Okay. The appointment that I sit down with somebody, it's about a 50-50 if we're going to go into that second appointment or not. And it's just like when I was in production, I was going a listing appointment. I'm not going to the listing appointment to have them interview me. I'm interviewing them because I know I already have the listing. I have the value proposition. I know this is a value for them to join. I'm trying to figure out who's going to fit is what I'm going to do. And I do that in a pleasant way, of course. Yeah. But there's a lot of me turning it down. There's a lot of them turning it down. But about 50% go into the second appointment, and then we hire about half. Yeah.
So I mean, if you're looking at 25% from the first appointment, you've got to interview and speak to 4 agents just to hire 1. So it gets 8 agents to hire 2. So again, it becomes simple math, but you got to get super clear on hey, I've got to go on these appointments in order to find those right people. Because I think a lot of teams also hire the wrong people. It's because they're not talking to enough people about it, right? So
if you don't have prospects, you don't have to put up with, right?
Yeah. So now talk to me about this, because a lot of team leaders are going, oh my gosh, like Dave Thompson, holy cow, like look at his schedule during the week. He's coaching the agents, he's training them, he's all over, he's recruiting. Like, holy cow, I can't do that because I'm still in production. Do you do any production? And if you tell me about that and your mindset around that.
I don't do any production in real estate. Right now, we did open up a mortgage branch for a lender, which has been extremely successful to us. And right now I'm spending a lot of time in that. But my job is basically, I need to know everything about the business, and I have to do what everybody else, where I can jump in. So right now I have an employee that is in our closing department, if you would, and she's on vacation. So I'm jumping in to help out there, making sure that no mistakes happen. So I can plug myself anywhere in, but I'm not doing I haven't done real estate in a couple of years.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And so again, it's, it all depends on where you are in the business, right? Like if there's a point at which, at the point at which you have got to get out of the selling and really then start looking at your team as a business and go, where do I fit in best for the highest value? And yours is in growth, in business building. Like we talked about the mortgage company. Again, you started that from ground up. It wasn't something that you partnered with someone necessarily on. And like you've done a tremendous job in building that. And again, I say it's part of the value proposition on your team. Like you now are in control of the customer service and all of that comes from that. And you and I have had conversation about that, of making sure the right players are in there because you want to make sure that everybody gets the good customer service, right? So,
yeah, can I throw something out there?
Yeah.
So this is just as a perspective, okay? And I don't know, whoever's watching it, they have their own numbers. So I'm just going to create one. Let's say that you make $50,000 a year on a team member, okay? And let's say if you provide a culture where that team member is going to stay for at least 5 years, you're going to make $250,000 on that appointment. A listing appointment, I might make 8. Where should I be spending my time? Getting a listing where I make an 8, or should I be spending my time building my team where I make $250,000 times how many people I hire?
Yeah.
The time is best used in putting the right people in place. Tom said at one of our events, your team's not big enough. Well, it's also the quality of people on your team, but the growth of the team, when you simply start looking at it, build a business plan and take whatever you have and double it and look at what the numbers would be. We all have in our numbers, we have our break-even point, right? Where this is our expenses and anything after that becomes a profit. The problem is I think we build to this level, but we don't go here often.
Yeah.
And that's the exciting thing is when you start running these numbers and you look at a larger team and you apply the same numbers, it's like, yeah, I'll take a recruiting appointment or a listing appointment any day.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, and again, when you're looking at, there's a point at which you have to look at this as, how do I build a business? And the one thing that you've jumped into really quick in this, because you've got tons of experience in building a team. You had an amazing team in Michigan for years and years and years. And then you decided I wanted to have a brokerage and then now we're back to this. So you've got years of experience in doing this, but when you jumped in and went, okay, I know what I'm doing. I know how it's all based on numbers and what I have to look at, and then what do I have to build on the other side? Because like it sounds a bit cold when I say, oh, it's all about the numbers, but that's not how the feeling is. But at the end of the day, that is when you're building a business that you have to look at it and go, hey, how do I create a really group of amazing people that I'm going to give every bit that I can from a skill building, from an opportunity perspective, all of that to go out, provide for their families. And then we create this, winning team that closes a lot of transactions. I mean, I put in there, I was looking at some of our numbers and I took the wrong number and I doubled it. I put in, you're doing 150 million in sales. And Dave gets on the phone, he's like, we're not going to do 150 million in sales. I'm like, oh, I'll change it. So I went in and changed it in some areas, but here's the truth. His first answer his first answer to me was, but we will. And, there's a good chance we'll hit it next year. Like that wasn't scary to him, which is one of the things that I love about him. Like for him, he goes 150, and like he pulls out his calculator and he's calculating. Okay, then that's all we have to do. We have to do 600 some odd transactions in order to get to that place. And so now it's as simple as going, hey, so now we have to do 600 transactions. How do we get to 600 transactions? Well, and in a quick few seconds, he knew exactly what he had to do to get to that number. And he's like, we'll be there soon. Right. And so
I thought you did it to me intentionally. So
I didn't. I wasn't time managing properly and I was rushing and I looked at the wrong number when I put it in there. So it's okay. It's okay. It's all good. Good.
Two things, Jared. It's my wife, Suzanne, who is absolutely amazing. Okay. And I couldn't do this without her.
And she's an amazing agent. I mean, I'm not saying this, but she's way better than you as an agent, Dave.
But not a question. So she's always telling me, because I'm always math, I'm very analytical, but she's always, it's people. So it's math and people, and that gives you the success.
Yeah, and that's so true. Put people first and do it based on that. All right, so got a team leader out there right now struggling with growth. Like they're struggling. They know they need more agents. Just like Tom said, in order to grow, they need more agents. They're struggling with that. What are the first one or two things that off the top of your head you say, go do this now?
Create your unique value proposition and then learn how to market it.
So create it and then market it. Yeah.
If you create something that you would work for yourself, that you would stay with, and then you learn how to get on the phone and prospect, or however you prospect, right? That's what it is. If people aren't attracted to what you have, there's a reason for it. Either you're not telling them or you don't have the right thing in place.
Yeah, and I think they almost haven't taken time to really learn what the value of being on their team is, because obviously I coach them and I see it from outside looking in, and some of these teams are amazing in what they do, and they just don't see the value, so therefore they can't sell it, right? So it's a struggle, but I agree. Create that and really, really hone in on what the value is, and then go out and market that and share it. In today's world, it's so easy to do that, right? It's so easy to do that. All right, kind of last question or last, kind of thing here, unless you want to talk about other stuff. New agent, not a brand new agent. New agent kind of doing really good, starting to leverage, maybe hired their first assistant and kind of jumping into this team concept. Like you've been through great team growth. Like what would you say to a new agent that's kind of getting ready to hire their first agent and they're going, I don't know what to do. What would two things would be for them?
First of all, really question if you want to do this.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
Quite frankly, it takes a while to learn everything. It takes, not that I can come close at this point, but it takes a while to figure it out. And it also takes a while to make a profit. For a while, you will do much better as a single agent than you will building a team. I don't think most teams make a high percentage. We hear a lot about what they sell and what they do, but we don't talk about the most important thing is what you put in your pocket, right? That's generally not the conversation. So you really need to take a business plan, lay the business plan out, and don't hire. If you're going to start building a team, look at where you want to go, and don't hire for a person, hire for a position. Create the position, create the business plan, then fill those seats. Don't just turn around and say, hey, this is a good person, so I'm going to hire them, because that's not building a business.
Yeah.
But it really is putting a business plan in place, and then you just have to become very dedicated to it and just execute that business plan.
Yep. So true. So true. All right. Anything else that I didn't ask you that you think would be valuable to the people watching?
Have fun with it.
Yeah.
Not to have, there's days that it's stressful and it's hard and this and that and there's long hours and stuff, but I get down to it. My wife and I were talking about yesterday. I don't think I'll ever retire. I just love what I do.
Yeah.
This is not that I'm downplaying what I'm going to say. It's a game. I don't mean it's a game, but to me, it's like a game. It's like building, putting pieces together and building this thing, and it's fun.
Yeah, and for those of you that know me, like I love leadership. I love the concept of leadership. I love learning leadership. And here's the thing though, leadership isn't easy. Like everyone thinks like you get to the top and everyone looks at you as a leader and that makes that easy. And what I always say to team leaders is like leadership has big responsibility attached to it, right? It has big obligations attached to it. Doesn't mean you can't manage it or do it well, but leadership is a huge piece, right? So being a great leader is what's going to draw and keep people with you. And one of the things that I honor about you is that, listen, you definitely grow, you definitely focus on growing as a leader, not just for you, but for your team as well to help them. And yeah, if you can't have fun, then again, people aren't going to stay. So as a leader, learn to have fun. I'm not I'm like people refer to me like I'm the fun sucker. Like I don't mean not to be fun. I try to be fun, but like a leadership is sometimes a focused job that we forget to have fun. So I agree. Yeah, go like it's easy, right? So go have fun with it. All right, Dave, I appreciate your time today. Thanks for sharing everything. I think there's tons of great information in this for teams or agents at all levels. So thank you very much. And let's continue to focus next year on 150 million. All right, your phone's ringing. Gotta go.
All right, appreciate it.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.